You know, young rich niggas. You know, so we ain't really never had no old money. We got a whole lot of new money though.
If young Metro don't trust you, I'm gonna shoot you.
Hey!
My name is Tola Adewaligan.
My name is Dr. Brian Lazinski.
My name is Cameron. I'm on Middleton, Muwata.
My name is Zateb Tatsiaka.
My name is Jama.
My name is Seth McCurry.
My name is Mez Tatsiaka.
I'm a student learning to become a teacher. I've had a career in government, and I've lived all over the country.
I am an assistant professor here at McAllister College in the Educational Studies Department.
I am a teacher, educator by trade, and I've been an educator since 1996.
I'm a 17-year-old young black male. I go to Roseville Area High School.
I'm a junior, and I like to play basketball.
I moved here about maybe a year ago from Chicago.
I guess for this, I'd be Zateb's younger brother.
They're young black men, likely in their teens, early 20s, multiple siblings, multiple fathers. They've been in the system before, they've been arrested, they know the police.
93% of all black homicides are committed by other black people.
Black people are violent and they steal stuff, or they're not smart or anything like that. I want to be able to push past a lot of those boundaries, because it really shows who we would be as a community if people would not just take one look, determine something, and walk away.
There are very few African-American men in this country who haven't had the experience of being followed when they were shopping in a department store. Very few African-American men who haven't had the experience of walking across the street and hearing the locks click on the doors of cars.
Well, in a word, it's exhausting to constantly have to wonder about how I'm being perceived in any space anytime I leave the house. I have to explain myself, my concerns, my worries, my fears to white people. It's exhausting having to have those conversations with you, with your brother, about being extra vigilant about where you go, who you're around.
But the buses stopped running because I was coming down home too late. So I'm like, fuck it, I just gotta walk. So I just start walking. It's like dark, late night. I'm like scared out of my mind because I already know people be on that, especially teens be on that. And they picked me up and like threw me against the gate. And one of the dudes poked the gun to my back and he's like, yo, give me everything out your pocket.
I understand that, you know, black male students might come into school with a higher level of stress.
I wouldn't say that I don't think about it. I would say I don't want to think about it.
When we're talking about black male youth, you know, they walk out those school doors and, you know, society sees us as a threat.
Like, you gotta know what you're doing, because, I mean, you could just be reaching for your license or something, and, you know, you could die. So, like, and a lot of, you know, like, it just makes you think about what you do before you do it.
I think there are significant kind of problems. The media portrayal of black males is simply bad. So someone thinks and they see a black person or black behaviors or black dialects or black lexicon, and they automatically assume it's associated with violence.
You know, we're constantly bombarded by media. You know, I mean, you can't turn on a TV, radio, internet without seeing some type of a negative depiction of black men.
Well, I feel like just because somebody adopts like a certain look or a certain sound, that shouldn't define them as a person.
I feel like we always have it. We always have the knowledge somewhere. It's just, where do we look for it? I think too many times we look in the wrong places, so we can't look to the TV for it. We sometimes can't look to school, a lot of times can't look to school for it. In this country has always valued our body as opposed to our mind. So that is, I mean, obviously connection to slavery, right? They weren't bringing, folks over to think, right? They were bringing folks over to work. All the social media is just constant. And so I feel like there is this constant repetition of these negative images that really do impact what we see ourselves as.
Like my people, I see us working more like menial, like labor jobs, or if we're like successful, we'd be like maybe athletes or like entertainers.
I think a lot of it comes down, as you always hear the phrase, it's the media, it's the media. There's very few places in America that is a true meritocracy. That is to say, if you do well, you will succeed. You know what one of those places are? It's sports. Black people, specifically males, see a lot of black males in sports and want to emulate them
That's just a small part of who we are.
If you're not, 6'6", right, it's going to be very tough for you to make it in the NBA. But there's actually nothing that's stopping you really from becoming a doctor. Actually, we've used sports in, some like incredible ways to be able to get to certain places. But at the same time, when you limit it to that, I think that's what you're getting at when you only see yourself as this.
I think it's horrible. When you have a student that puts so much of their image into their athletic skill, and the ability for that athletic skill to be turned into profit is so minuscule, once they fail at that sport, their self-image goes away.
If we're not in school, if we can't learn about ourselves as thinkers, as intellectuals, right, then we look to popular culture and we learn about ourselves as entertainers or sport or athletes. We don't learn about ourselves as like W.B. Du Bois, we learn about ourselves as LeBron James.
I don't think that we don't want black people to achieve an education. I think the country does. I think it's a way that how do we shift the glorification of athletes towards the glorification of other roles.
Someone who gets on honor roll at school, their name might get put up on a list, right? But if you made the basketball team, then that's a bigger accomplishment.
Like just seeing me walk into the classroom as a young black male, I want to be able to push past their expectations. So when they look at my work and what I do and how I act, they're blown away a little bit.
What are you doing here in this AP class? What are you doing here in this honors class? Hey, we're not used to seeing you there. We're used to seeing you on the basketball court.
Who will look like at a black person or black behavior and expect less of them because that is what the unconscious bias perpetuated by the media has us feel.
I'd say that I'm probably the student who messes around quite a bit, but I still am one of the top students. I try to get my work done and I finish with A's mostly.
The way that the white students are reacted to may be a lot different from the same behavior coming from a black student.
Like, you could tell she plays favorites. Obviously, you're supposed to treat them the same, so like, don't treat them differently for doing the same actions.
There's always going to be like bad teachers, and the people who are successful are the ones who are able to be like, okay, I'm in a bad situation. How do I make it so that this bad situation isn't as bad?
And larger society pushes the box of athletics and pushes the box of entertainment as a way to see black people.
You're incentivizing that football, basketball, or whatever sport it is more important than academics.
I try not to let the typical black stereotype define who I am. Like with certain stereotypes, do I fall into them? Of course, because I'm just kind of that person. But if it's anything that could potentially like hinder me or hold me back or anything.
Basically, a kid who can walk on both sides of the fence will probably be more successful in a public school system because of the way it is set up.
I want every student to see the world for everything it has and be willing to take it for themselves, not carve it up and say, this piece is for my racial or ethnic group, but all of it is for all of us.
We need to spend some time in thinking about how do we bolster and reinforce our African American boys. Is there more that we can do to give them a sense that their country cares about them?
I think really just being you like is the coolest thing ever, because like if like you have just all these people being them, then you see these new things and just like all this just differentness comes into effect, which is good. Difference is really good.
My dad, he's a huge role model in my life.
My uncle is a general surgeon, and I really look up to him as a role model.
Looking back on my mom's side of the family, there's a lot of nurses and doctors and stuff. And my older sister is becoming a nurse.
Personally, I like the medical field, and also I would love to do some sort of business in the future.
I am really interested in careers in the medical field. Actually, my all-time goal would be to become a bone surgeon or an orthopedic surgeon.
In the future, I would like to be a music artist. And if that doesn't work out, I'm also planning on getting my CCNA so that I can get a networking job.
It's up to our community to be able to create more spaces instead of having less and less and less spaces. My advice would be to figure out what else is out there for you and don't get locked in to whether it be, our neighborhoods or just our state, country, right? There's a world out there. And so for us to be able to get out there and interact with it in this way.
The legacy of our people also is about struggle and about fighting for what we deserve. We've been through a lot, and we keep coming back, and we keep fighting, we keep standing up, we keep staying dignified, and we keep speaking out, and we keep creating, we keep moving forward.
Everywhere I go, I got links.